Didi, you've run these performance cycles across LVMH and now also MM Styles. What's the one calibration mistake that shows up everywhere, regardless of the industry?
The recency bias. I would say the recency bias is the biggest problem that happens across all appraisals. People forget what you have done in the last 10 months and just remember what you've done in the last two. And a lot of employees who play the game understand that that is what they need to do. Like they'll be like, okay, don't work for 10 months. Last 2 months is when I want to deliver all my sales number. I want to overachieve of anything. And the manager will just forget that you did not deliver as long as you were not really bad. You did average and then you spiked up, your hike will be good. That is how all employees who have understood the game have been doing it for the longest term. Problem is managers also gotten it. So what I tell my managers is make sure that you maintain a monthly check on the people. Of course sometimes monthly is not possible, do a quarterly check, so at least when the appraisal comes up you have those points to say, okay, but in Q1 you did this, in Q2 you were average. Just Q4 performance is not going to push you on a higher hike, right?
Didi, if an employee walks out of their appraisal feeling blindsided, whose failure is that? Theirs, the managers, or the systems?
That is a dangerous question. Okay. Whose fault is it when the employee is disheartened by the appraisal? Okay, so here's what I do. Okay, as an HR person who's been doing this for more than a decade, my rule of thumb is simple. Okay, in my first year, I give the appraisal letters myself to all the employees. Okay, what that does is that lets me read if the person expected that or did not expect that. And if the person's like, no, this is not what my manager told me, I make a note to talk to the manager on what happened. How is it possible that they did not know what their team member expected? Because as a manager, your job is to manage the people, right? And if you're not even setting the expectation right, then you're not managing them. So that's my first year because they don't know me, they don't trust me as much. I mean, depending on the time and the field and the team, it could vary. But usually, first year, if it's been 6 months, 7 months in the company, I would say let the managers give the letter and manager have the conversation and I'll give the letter. From the second year onwards, what I do is I have the conversation with every employee in the company and going from the top downwards, so that when the letters go to them, or rather when we're having the conversation of appraisal and the manager says, oh no, this person I want to give only 7%, this person I want to give 20%, and I'm like, but you told that person that you will be giving them 12% this year. Why are you now okay with 7%? Because I as an HR need to know what people are thinking. Now, what also helps is when employees come to me to have that conversation on appraisals, because then what happens is I also know that their expectations are different, right? Especially if they are, how do I say it? They are kind of seniorish management themselves, then me knowing what they want will help me close the conversation at the top. Okay, because to be fair, how the appraisal system works is that you need to have a champion, somebody who will say your name when it comes to various projects and promotions and higher appraisal, somebody who says, oh, this is the person who's going to get things done for the organization. Senior management, of course, is the champion for others. Nobody is a champion for them, so then I get to be the champion for them. That's all you have to do as a manager. Make sure that you, one, understand what is the expectation of the person, two, are realistic about can they be achieved, and third, make sure that it is aligned with them before the appraisal actually gets done and you do not throw upper management under the bus. That's it.
Didi, what's the difference between somebody who's ready for a promotion and someone who just wants one?
um First thing I would say is that promotions are of two kinds. Okay, one is a promotion wherein you get to have people being managed. So you can become a team leader, you can become a manager from an individual contributor. And second is when you are next level on a individual contributor role. Okay, now both of those are very, very, very different, and this is what most organizations get wrong. Somebody who's a great performer, management will give them a manager role and they will flunk. Not only will they not be able to do their own job, they won't know how to manage other people. Because if you look at it, most of the people who are your highest salespeople, highest achievers, they are self-centered, they are very selfish people. Okay, because they are just like, this is my focus, this is what I want to achieve, and this is what I'm going to achieve. So they don't think, care, or want to care about other people. They just want to be individual contributors and they just want to be flying high. Okay, these people should be given just individual contributor roles. You can promote them into higher responsibilities in that role itself, or you can just keep on giving them more money, right? Which comes with a higher title and all that. It does not matter as long as they are achieving bigger and bigger numbers, because there is the return on investment. If you're giving them more money, you expect that they'll give you back more money as well. Okay, the second kind is the promotion to a manager. Now, people who actually care about other people are usually not people who are the highest achievers, right? That combination is quite rare. Happens, of course, but it's rare. Usually in those cases, people have been team leaders and managers from very young time anyway, or they've done it in another organization or something. But learning to work with people is a skill set that you only get to learn if you try, right? It's not automatic. Just because you are great at what you do doesn't mean you're also a good manager. As HR, it is my responsibility to understand the people who influence other people. People who are influencers in the organization will usually end up being good managers, because they know what to say, when, how to get what they need. Okay, they are people that other people naturally look up to, and they are good at putting things across to even management whenever the team is needed. These are people who are born leaders, and it is the management's job to then figure out who these people are and promote them into roles where they can serve the employees. Okay, leading the employees, serving the employees, that is what a manager should be able to do very well, with a balance between the two.
Didi, why do so many high performers get passed over for promotion and so many average performers get it?
Okay. Okay, how do I explain this? People in power want to promote those who they believe will make their jobs easier. That's it. That's how promotions, that's how increments, that's how project allocation, all of that gets done. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. That is just the rule of how the world works. People want to promote those who will make their jobs easy. Okay, if you are a pain in the butt for your manager, you are not getting a promotion, no matter how good you are at the job. And it's not that somebody who's just going to be very nice to the boss is going to get the promotion either. You should be able to do the job, you should be making it easier for your manager, and you should make others look good. If you are always making other people look bad, you're not going to get a promotion, even if you're really good at your job, because at the end of the day, you're gonna make your manager and those who promoted you look bad also, because that's your nature. So even if a new manager promotes somebody like that, they will very quickly learn that that's not the right thing to do. As a manager, as an employee, always make others look good. And that's the only way that you will actually get a promotion.
Didi, tell me something. Is loyalty a legitimate reason to promote someone?
I think loyalty gauge is kind of twisted. People say that like loyalty is basically how many years you've been with someone, right? But loyalty is also the feeling that this person will have your back, and that can come in less amount of time also. It's not something that requires a whole lot of time, right? You can sense if a person is loyal or not. Promoting people who are loyal absolutely should be done, because as I said in the previous question, managers want to promote those who will make their jobs easier. And of course, somebody who's loyal to you, somebody who's got your back, will be somebody who will make your job easier. I mean, you can gauge that if they're doing it. Yeah. And yes, if they are loyal and they're making your job easier and they are fun, why not? You should absolutely promote them.
Didi, if you could kill one promotion practice forever, what would it be?
I would say waiting 2 to 3 years to promote someone, or 4 years or 5 years, I don't know, whatever arbitrary rule the organization has put in. I would say, I mean, it's ridiculous, okay? You get somebody with high potential and they're delivering everything and they're doing everything and they're making everyone's job easier and they're making everyone look good, right? And then you're like, oh, but you've not done 3 years at the company, you can't get promoted. They are gonna leave. They are gonna take a hike in their salary and a better title at another company, and you just lost an amazing employee. Why? The most you can do is tell them to wait for the cycle when it is done for the whole organization, so it's not ad hoc and it doesn't seem unfair. But you should absolutely promote people as and when they are 80% ready. You should not wait for a timeline and you should not wait until they are 100% ready, because people will amaze you. Okay, when you give people the trust and you give them the promotion and you tell them, I know you can do it, it's called the Pygmalion effect. People will amaze you by how much they can do. It's amazing. It is the most rewarding thing. Actually, if you look at it in the corporate world, promotions are the most gratifying, the most rewarding thing that a person can do. You get to change somebody's life for the better, and then you get to see them and mentor them and handhold them through all these new experiences that they go through, and get to see them grow. Like, what could be better? I mean, that is just really, really good, no?